So in this video, I'm going to just say a few words on course prerequisites and what I'm assuming that you know before taking this course. So I'm going to work on the assumption here that you have some understanding, or in fact, you're fairly comfortable with single degree of freedom systems. It would be unusual to try and take a course on multi-degree of freedom systems before you've covered single degree of freedom systems or before you're comfortable with those. So ideally, you will have taken my course on the fundamentals of structural dynamics, and if you have, perfect. Well, this course continues pretty much where that course left off, and so you can dive straight in. There's no issues. Now, if you haven't taken that, you can still take this course, but ideally, again, you're going to have an understanding of single degree of freedom structural dynamics. So if you haven't studied single degree of freedom, structural dynamics, or it's been a long time since you have and you could do it a bit of a refresher, I would start with the fundamentals course first. Now in this course, I'm going to make use of a numerical solution algorithm that we developed in the fundamentals course, and in particular it's the Piecewise exact numerical method. So we developed that and wrote the code for that in the fundamentals course, and so we're going to use that code again in this course. Now I'll briefly review the concept behind this numerical method, but we're pretty much going to take the code that we wrote in the previous course, and I won't go through that code again from start to finish. So that's probably another reason why, if you haven't taken the fundamentals course, it's probably a good idea to start there. However, if you are comfortable with single degree of freedom systems and you haven't taken my fundamentals course and you're happy enough to just rely on copying and pasting in the code that we used in that previous course, well then that's fine. You can start in this course. So next is the question of Python. So that's one of the questions I get asked the most. And when people come across these courses, they sort of say to themselves, oh, this looks really interesting, but I don't really know Python. Is that a problem? And my answer is always the same, and it is emphatically no. You don't need to know Python to take any of my courses. Now, obviously, if you've taken this fundamentals of structural dynamics course I keep talking about, you'll obviously have covered plenty of Python in that, and so you're ready to dive straight into this course. There's no issues at all. But even if you haven't taken that course and you don't have a background in Python, that's not really a problem, to be honest with you. You're going to pick up everything that you need to know in terms of Python along the way as you work through this course. And in fact, in the next lecture, or the one after that, I'm going to talk you through setting up your coding environment, your development environment. So my philosophy really around Python and using it as a tool within engineering is that you can only really learn it when you're actually using it to do something. You can't really sit and take lectures in Python or watch me, talk you through Python. You get very bored very, very quickly. And so really the only way to practically pick this stuff up is by working on something. So actually working through this course is a really good way to learn Python. And so by the end of the course, you're going to be really comfortable using Python and the Jupyter Notebook development environment and using it potentially in your everyday engineering workflows. So, if you thought your calculator was handy, wait until you get comfortable with a Python console and you'll really see how handy it is to be able to write scripts to automate tasks and to perform calculations for you. It's a real game changer. And so the other thing to remember in terms of Python and coding, and if you're a bit nervous about taking a course that requires coding, I'd say this to you: if you're the type of person who's about to sit into a 7 or 8 hour course on structural dynamics, you are probably the type of person who is not going to be too traumatized by having to pick up some Python along the way. So it really shouldn't tax you or shouldn't phase you too much. So don't let Python be a reason for not taking this course.